everyone, and welcome to another episode of Design Makeover, a show where you can watch Canva experts improve designs submitted by the community and learn some design tips and tricks along the way. My name is Leah, and I'm from Canva Design School. All our past episodes are also posted on YouTube. For those of you watching the replay on YouTube, we've created a playlist with all the Design Makeover episodes. You'll find the link in the description of the video. So I would like to give a very warm welcome to our guest for today, Matt. So I'll hand it over to him.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see so many people from all over the world and lots from Philippines, which is perfect because it's a bit of a Philippine-centric session today. So my name is Matt Leach. I run design. I'm the design course lead in design education department in Canva. And I've been in the industry for over 20 years now. And I've been teaching pretty much throughout that as well. My job entails writing courses that teach Canva and design skills in an immersive way so people can understand how to use Canva better quickly. You can find lots of these courses on the Design School page, and we'll put the link in the chat. And I'm adding new ones all the time, so keep your eyes out for some new ones pretty soon. This is going to be a very special episode of Design Makeover, or maybe I should call it Design Takeover, because we're going to be looking at submitted work from the Education to Employment program that Canva ran in the Philippines at the end of last year. Now, this is a really special program. It's aimed at upskilling young people who are living in poverty, teaching them graphic design and Canva in an intensive and supportive way. We supplied them with technology and equipment they needed, like laptops, internet, etc., and supported them financially so they could focus completely on their study. The pandemic presented many challenges, but eventually we managed to get all 115 of them into a Zoom classroom with our local teachers, Rika and Kath. We started teaching. The first part of the course goes for 4 weeks, and the students look at the fundamentals and principles of design, the design thinking process, basic layout and typography, before moving on to logo, promotional and social collateral, and how to put together a 1-minute video ad. It was a lot to get through, but the results left us completely speechless. And rather than just tell you how speechless I was, I'm going to show you a hype reel that we just put together that shows you some of the work.
Rika here. Are you ready for the big design secret?
Canva is great, and I'm so happy to be part of their scholar.
Because of the E2E program, I am empowered as an editor.
I wouldn't be where I am without you, Canva.
Oh, getting a little bit emotional. Just knowing what they came from and the kind of challenges they've had to deal with, it's just so amazing that they've been able to kind of get to where they have after the first 4 weeks. So this makeover is going to look at some of the work that was submitted for that first assessment, where they're asked to analyze a brand, redo the logo, create a style sheet, make a poster series, social media campaign, 30-second video, and then bring it all together in a client presentation. So this is going to be really good for anyone who's interested in rebranding a business or producing promotional materials that connect with their customers. Some people chose their own clients from friends and family. Others chose to do the client that we prepared for them. We chose a non-profit organization in the Philippines called WTRC, or Holistic Transformation Resource Center. They are an amazing group that's looking to bring around the end of Filipino poverty through social entrepreneurship, volunteerism, and corporate social responsibility. When we do assessments, we always like to try and make it local so the students can actually see the power of design in their own community. Likewise, it's how we choose the partners that we work with. I need to give a shout out to Filipino home-based mums, Creative Earners Philippines, Digital Jobs Philippines, who found the most needy students and helped connect them with the program. 3 amazing organizations who are working towards the same goal of alleviating poverty. Just to give you a taste of what the students needed to submit, I thought I might show you one video in full so you can see what their client presentation looked like and the kind of expectations we had. It's about 4 minutes long. Sit back, get comfy. I'll introduce you to Adrian, a 22-year-old from Manila who was heavily affected by the pandemic, but who still dreams of one day becoming a graphic designer.
Good day, I'm Adrian Alcantara, giving you my pitch for WTRC. So for the outline, I will be going over the mood board, customer persona, logo, style sheet, stationery, ad campaigns, and video. So starting off with my mood board, I wanted the overall feel of the brand to be very light, very happy, very inspiring, and very enticing when viewed in the eyes of the audience. So introduced in my mood board are these 4 colors, which would be the overall brand colors. I wanted to keep the blue originally from WTRC's previous logo, but I decided to make it brighter and more saturated to give it more enticing and to have it stand out more in terms of viewed either in print or digital. For the typefaces, I will be using Arca Majora for heading, titles, and logo, and Telegraph for the subtext. Arca Majora because of how strong and how sturdy it looks, that when viewed from the eyes of the audience, it gives a sense of empowerment. And because of how dynamic and clean it looks, it will complement the logo pictogram, which you'll see in a bit. For the customer persona, I focused on possible partners or volunteers who would want to be part of WTRC's projects. So Sheila Albante, very straightforward. She is a family person. She loves children and she loves doing volunteer work. What she needs is to look for people who share the same sentiments as her in terms of helping the less fortunate. Her challenges and pain points is finding a reliable source of helping hands, and she does not really know how to handle or manage the flow of campaigns easily.
So just before he gets into the logo, that's the first kind of week there, which was all kind of set up about learning about their clients, understanding who the client's target market was, and then developing personas and mood boards so they could really understand where they could take the brand, but also understand who they were talking to. And then he came up with this amazing logo.
So this is my rebrand of WTRC, a sense of hope. For my style sheets, written here are the same typography I introduced in the mood board, which is Arca Majora and Telegraph. For the logo color palette, it's interchangeable of teal, red, and white without the yellow. The yellow will only be used in marketing posts, but not in the main logo itself. Here are the variations, do's and don'ts. It will always be white and it will never be black. So for image elements, I wanted warm tones to contrast with the brand's palette. Since blue is a very cool color, I wanted all the image elements to be very warm, very high contrast, and very sharp to get the audience attention more easily. Rationality of the logo. So I wanted the logo to be something so simple that even the children can understand. So at first glance, obviously it's 2 hearts overlapping, but if you look closely, it's actually more than that. The 2 hearts symbolizes the heart of WTRC along with the heart of the people they help with, overlapping to become one whole. Once they form the letter W and a ribbon. The W, which stands as a monogram for the company, and a ribbon, which is a well-known icon for campaigns.
So what I really liked about that is just the logo was just not a typical logo. He'd really thought about how it sort of came together and what it meant. And that kind of stuff for when you're talking with a client really sends it home to the client that you understand them. And so I thought that was really impressive. Okay, now we're going to jump into how the logo sort of rolled out across the promotional material.
This is the variation on mobile. Here's the variation without the tagline. For the stationery, I just wanted to keep that minimalist design all throughout. What you see is what you get. I wanted the colors of the logo to speak for themselves. Do you know who WTRC is? And it establishes its professionality. For my poster campaigns, I did print along with digital. For print, I wanted to be very image based on hands. So the reason for this is that even if you would minimize this image, it would still look really big because of the font of Arca Majora. Digital campaign, I want it to be a testimonial style. So here you see the words and experiences of the people they worked with to gain garner, because these are the lines that would get engagements for Facebook.
Okay, so that's kind of all the work. And then it leads up to this 1 minute video that they produce. I think this is a little bit less than 1 minute, but I'll leave you with this.
What do you
Here's
see?
my video that I created.
I see dreams, passion, love, hope. It's in all of us. So we learn, we help, we inspire. This is WTRC.
So thank you for listening. That was my rebrand of WTRC Sense.
Okay, so thank you for sticking with that. I just really wanted to see exactly what the students had kind of produced. So all 115 of the students produced something similar like that. It went very deep into their rebrand and how it rolled out into different items. It's pretty amazing how far they came within 4 weeks, and all created in Canva as well. Adrian is now planning to finish a Bachelor of Arts in Multimedia. He's got the bug for design, and he wants to be the first in his family to make a living from being creative. Okay, I've put it off for long enough. Are we ready for the first design? I'm a bit nervous. I haven't done live design for a while. So I've randomly picked a number of student projects to give feedback on. There are so many that I could have chosen to do, but hopefully this helps give them a bit more direction where they could take the design. Design 1. This design comes from Jeremy and is a logo design for a dentist. And I love it because I hate dentists. Sorry for anyone who's watching who might be a dentist. I shouldn't say I hate dentists. I'm scared of dentists. So this logo that Jeremy has done works perfectly for me because it's friendly and it's approachable and it's not threatening at all. But I think it's a little bit unbalanced. So let's switch over to Canva and get started. Okay, so it looks great. First thing I'll probably look at is we've got these two little circles just on either side. And I kind of understand why that's been put in there, just to kind of help balance the top of it. If we take them away, you can see that it suddenly becomes very alone up the top. But the other kind of thing that I've kind of got a little bit of a problem with is there's not really any hierarchy between the text. So we don't really know what the most important thing is for someone to look at, like from a distance, that they can see something and they can recognize it straight away. I love the great teeth, great smile, great life. Again, for someone who's nervous about dentists, that really works for me. It's like there's a payoff there. If I get my teeth looked at, I get a better smile, I get a better life. So I'd like to keep that in because I don't want to get rid of that. But at the moment, it's kind of taking up quite a lot of attention. And again, in the name, we've got, I'm going to mess this up terribly, but Guevara Dental Clinic. What is the most important thing there? It's not the dental clinic, it's the name. That's what sets them aside from every other dentist out there. So I think that's probably a good place to start. If we look at what font we've got here, we've got Barlow Bold. So first thing I might do is just take this out. And then I've made a massive mistake. Never start working on the original piece of work. Always make a duplicate. So then you've always got the original that you can go back to. All right, so I'm going to ungroup that. Grab that out. Pull out the dental clinic by itself. And then the first thing I'm going to do is just see what else we've got in this Barlow. So Barlow looks like there's a medium and there's also a thin, which is great. So we can drop that straight down. And you can already see there's a bit of difference there between the name of the clinic and what it is, a dental clinic. Likewise, I'm going to look at this. This really needs to drop down. It's grabbing way too much attention. So let's throw that into thin. I've got rid of the circles, but I quite like them. So maybe I'll think about bringing them in here. So if you just hit on a keyboard, normally option 8 will give you a little bullet point. And then let's make those green as well, so it all stays together. Okay, so that's starting to look better. This needs to come underneath this. We can probably drop that down a little bit as well, so it's not grabbing quite as much attention. And then what are we going to do with this? So one of the first things I got asked to do when I joined Canva, when I was joining Canva, was to develop a course around how to make text curved, because it was quite a big, detailed thing to do at that time. And literally the day that I joined Canva, they made it one button. So all we have to do now is we go to effects, we go to curve, and then there we go. We've got it curved perfectly. And you can just adjust this slightly. And we can bring that down to there. I might make that a little bit bigger so it curves around a little bit more. It's looking pretty good. And I might actually make this a bit bigger, so it really stands out. Just bring this to the front. I'm going to bring this over here as well. And maybe I don't need both of them. So maybe I just have one. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Okay. So I feel like that. So if we go back to that one, feels like it's kind of standing out a little bit more. There's a lot better hierarchy. Okay, so you can see the kind of before and after there. So what have we done with hierarchy? First thing that we changed, it's now easier to see what's important. We've really pulled out the name of the clinic, and I guess we've dropped back the less important supporting information. Balance has also been a bit fixed as well. We've got some curved text in there. I've brought the tagline up, and we've got black at the bottom, which is kind of, it's even so it's a little bit smaller, the black has got a heavier weight, so it's kind of balancing out nicely. So that's that one. Whew, my first one done. This is great. All right, number 2. So this design came from Era May, and it's another logo. And now when Era May presented this, she talked about using a monogram, a wordmark, and a pictogram all in the one logo. And that's a bit confusing. So I wanted to look at how we might fix that. I'm also a little bit worried about how we might reproduce this at small sizes. So if it has to be on an email signature or business card, there's a lot going on here. So I'd like to look at that a little bit. But I'm really excited to explore it because I think it's got a really great idea behind it. So let's jump into this one. So she's given us 3 different ways. So this is kind of a word mark, but also sitting with the pitch mark and the monogram. So monogram is when it's just letters being used. Pictogram is when the picture takes precedence, and a word mark is when the word takes precedence. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. We've got the word mark, but we've also got purified drinking water, which tells what it is. But then we've also got a tagline, which is love the taste of purity. So lots going on, but then also loads happening in the actual logo. And if we look at the logo by itself, you can see what she's getting at here. This idea of that the water is coming from the mountains and down into the valleys. And I think that's a really awesome idea. It's this beautiful sort of process of the purity coming from the mountains down into the valley. And then this is her logo. Again, she's brought this in. And I think it's working in the general sort of sense of it, the star, the circle, often what we call a vehicle that is holding the logo. I think that's all working, but I'd like to kind of think about how we could simplify it in a lot. So let's make a duplication of that. We get rid of this really dark circle. Move that out of the way for the moment. Basically just pull it all apart. Hopefully she's not watching as I destroy her logo. They're all the different things that we've got going on. There's also a drop shadow happening here as well, which I might get rid of. just so we can see exactly what we're dealing with. And so we've got an A and a V. And I talked about that idea of, the water running from the mountain into the valley. Like, I think we could probably put those together like that. And therefore we've got the mountain that is then dropping down into the valley and being caught. So that kind of feels quite nice there. This is really, really nice. But as soon as we bring it up, you can see it's starting to fight with the information that we're really trying to get across, which is the AV and the mountain valley sort of idea. So let's have a look and see if we can find something else for that one. So I'm just going to open up my elements and I'll do like half circle. Okay, so there's a couple of really good ones there. So if you grab that one over here, and then we turn it into, I'll just grab a blue of some sort, something slightly dark, turn it around. So this is kind of symbolizing, I guess, the valley where the water's being captured. We can sort of drop that behind there like that. Maybe we have the mountain coming from that point. That black is getting lost a little bit. So let's think about maybe turning it into white. And then we could possibly grab that one and turn it around and then kind of make it feel a little bit like sky. So maybe a lighter blue. That's beautiful lighter blue there. Good. Just gonna get rid of that background. Put those together. Okay, so I think these are not going to work necessarily because we're trying to get this idea that the A is the mountain. So I might get rid of those. We don't need the same birds twice. And we can bring this down. I think I'd also look at maybe if we could turn that into, like, just one click turns it into the capitals as well. Jump back into effects. Let's play with that a little bit. The black is looking a little bit harsh, so maybe we'll match those colors that we've got in the logo. It's starting to look pretty good. And then maybe we turn this around a bit. I really want to get those birds in. They're really nice. They kind of add to this kind of idea of pure and the mountains and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you can get them in there and bring them forward. And then again, let's match that color that's below. Okay, I think we're kind of getting somewhere there. So let's have a look at, so I've potentially taken that a little bit too far. But what we've got now is a really simple logo. I've also got to scratch my curved text itch again. I promise I won't have that in every single one. But we've got a simple logo that still gets across that main idea of the mountain and the valley. This is also going to reproduce a lot better on different items and is also going to be understood better at smaller sizes. Okay, 2 down. Let's do another one. Okay, next design number 3. This design comes from Jamie. And it's a poster design for a kid's art class. So when I saw this, I was really taken with the color and the simplicity of the design. You can imagine how it would grab your attention from like across the street. I was a little bit confused about the amount of logos though. There seems to be like 3 different types of logos. And some of the other posters in the series didn't seem to have the same impact. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the poster that you saw just before. And this is her second poster in the series. And this is the third poster. So I like these elements that she's bringing in to each one. That's really cool. These kind of abstract graphic elements. The introduction of this illustration would be fine if that was on other posters as well. And then this is a very different style of illustration again. So I feel like we're mixing the message a little bit, both with the number of logos that we've got on it, but also the style of illustration. So we want that consistency that's going to kind of fall across all of them. So I'll go back to this one because that's the one that really grabbed my attention first. I'll make a duplicate. And you can see here that we've got one logo that says Art Alexandra. We've also got this logo here, which I saw on some of the other ones. So that's obviously a logo that they're trying to kind of promote. And then we've also got this logo down the bottom here. And is it a logo? It's in a different font sort of thing. So it's suggesting to me that it wants to be known as well as the other two that are on there. So too many going on here. So I would straight away talk about how, is there a way that we can kind of cut that back very quickly? This by itself is probably not going to do it because it doesn't say anything. You have to know what that stands for before you can actually accept it. But we can add stuff to it very quickly. So let's just make another page. Get rid of everything on the page. I'm going to go and grab this logo here. Put it here. Let's see what we can do to kind of make it work. We can grab this one here and put it below and just see whether, yeah, that's working pretty good. Take that up a little bit. I can grab it from there as well. I kind of like how that works together. It's still got that kind of handmade feel. So that kind of feels nice. If we were to continue on with that handmade feel, it might be too much though. So I think if we went and got like this visual arts workshop, we can grab this, put that below it. Now we've got two serifs here. So serifs are where you have these extra little bits kind of on the end of letters. And then you have sans serif, which is when you don't have that. So just a straight, which is what the top is kind of made of. So sans serif and serifs are meant to go together. So having two that look very similar can confuse sometimes. So we're probably best just changing that altogether and finding a sans serif. There's Ginto. Ginto is quite a good one to use. Let me just expand that a little bit. And that's starting to feel a little bit more like a logo. And it's also telling me what it is, sort of thing. So maybe in the future, if this goes really well, then we can start to drop, the description of what it is. And maybe we could even drop the actual name of it because like Nike, it becomes so well known that you no longer have to have Nike next to it. But we've got a logo now, which is going to kind of stand out a little bit and grab some attention. I'll come back to that in a second. So I can go back to here, get rid of this, get rid of this. Don't need this anymore either. Don't need this anymore. Need the number. I'll bring the logo up. Just paste it in. I'll group it. Drop it down. And I'm going to put it down in the right-hand corner because generally when someone looks at a poster, they normally start at the top left and then they start moving down through to the bottom right. And we want them to remember the name and the logo, and that's going to be the last thing they see. We probably want the number pretty close to that as well, because that's almost acting like a call to action. So a call to action is when you're telling the viewer, the audience, what you want them to do after they've seen this poster. So we want them to call this number and enroll. Now we've got lots of space, which is exciting because I think this stuff here is where the real excitement for me is happening. That's going to grab the attention. People are going to like stare at that from the other side of the street. So I would almost like think about how we can kind of even make that even bigger and more exciting. We've used Ginto, the sans serif below. So let's change that to sans serif as well. I'll change it to left aligned. We can drop this under here, maybe in line with one of the lines. See if we can get it onto 2 lines. It's starting to look pretty good. Enroll now. Let's just make that Ginto as well, nice and simple. We put that, I think we should probably make that a bit bigger so it really grabs the attention. Maybe we can put it on its side so it kind of matches that that triangle there. What else can we do? This could probably come up, maybe sit under here. This one could maybe come over. This is where we start to have some fun. We can really start to kind of playing around with, how we place things. This one maybe comes down. Oh, it's transparent as well, which is great. That's even adds a little bit more interest. It's feeling a bit small now, so we'll maybe make this a little bit bigger. It's important that we have these. We don't need to emphasize them though. It's just as long as people can see that it is on Facebook. So I'm just lining that up with the bottom of the number. We can probably turn that to Ginto as well. Okay. I think basically what we've got there is a bit simpler poster, very graphic as well. Let's jump back. So it's subtle. We've simplified things, made it easier for the audience to work out what's important. We've also directed the audience's eye down to that bottom right-hand corner so they can take in that information they need in order to take action. And I can kind of imagine a whole range of these posters now. Like you could have 5, 6, 7, very kind of graphic with abstract shapes that kind of grabbing that attention, making people stop and pay attention. And I think it would work for both the kids because it's colorful and it would get them to look at it, but it would also work for the adults because it's kind of showing that there's something interesting happening here. We've also really pushed the logo and the name as well. So we've got one logo instead of multiple. All right, so Design 4 is another poster, and this is from Milena, and this one is for WTRC. And what I really loved about this one is it's trying to emphasize the areas where the charity does the most good. So I thought we might be able to pump this up and put a little bit more emphasis and also maybe help a little bit with the legibility of the text. So let's go over to Canva again. Okay, I'll just show you the posters that she'd done. So there's that first one, second one, and third one. And I really like them, but there's something weird happening with the square and the headline and how they interact together. As you can see here, it's kind of, the square is going through almost all the R's. And immediately I'm thinking, is there a message here? Like, should I be recognizing the R's for some reason? Like, is there something that I should be kind of understanding here? If we look at some of the other ones, you can see it's also cutting through some of the other letters, making it a little bit hard to read. And again here. So there's an implied relationship there, but actually I think there isn't any relationship. So the audience is spending all that time thinking about the implied relationship when actually there's none there. They shouldn't be thinking that at all. So I think the first thing I would be doing is like kind of removing that and then turning that square into something more interesting. So let's use this one and we'll make a duplicate. And as I said, let's pull that away. So it's actually got nothing to do with the square. So the headline and the square are separated. So then that asks the question about, well, what's the square there for? Okay, I think in this case, the square seems to be hanging around the area of the hands where, the hands are kind of helping and this idea of service, and that's where the strength is coming from. So that's pretty interesting. So we could like really emphasize that in some ways, like kind of even maybe made the square even bigger, have it kind of sit over where the interaction is happening between the person who's giving and the person who's receiving. So that's really nice. We're running out of space a little bit. I'll just see if I double click on the poster. Just discovered they had a filter over the top. So it's actually quite a bright image behind, and they've put like a transparent sort of huge box, which is kind of created a filter, which is helping the text stand out a bit more. So that's kind of interesting. So we might have to think about how we use that. But then now I can double click on the picture. There's loads of extra room. So I can take that up a little bit more. If I click off it, you can see now, yeah, that's great. So I've managed to move the picture up a little bit more. So I've got a little bit more space down the bottom for all the other stuff that I want to do. There's something around that square that's really interesting that I kind of want to explore more. I'm just going to make another duplicate so I can just really start playing with the image. So I get rid of everything that I don't need just so I can play with the image. So I wonder if okay, I'm going to pull that to the side, make another one of it. So I'm just holding down Option when I click and drag. I'm going to make that a lot smaller. So it actually fits in here. And then I can bring the picture to the front first, double click on it, and then I can actually make it bigger inside. So I've got an idea here, and if this works, it's going to look good. If it doesn't work, I'll blame Leah and we'll pretend it never happened. Okay, so I've got one picture sitting on top of the other, and I can kind of move it around so it almost is in exact the right spot. Okay, now I'm going to go and click on this picture. Make sure it's exactly there. I'm going to edit image. So I'm clicking on the back picture here. Go into my photogenic filters, and then I can go down to my monos. Okay, something interesting's happening there. I need to get this the perfect size. I could, it's nearly there. Okay, but what I've got now is I've got this kind of, oh, I'm not there at all, am I? Okay, I think you get the idea though. So if I drop that back, and then I can bring the square on top, and then really emphasize this area where the interaction is happening. Now I can grab all that, go back up into here, get rid of all the bits I don't need. Drop it in, send it to the back. Okay, and you can sort of see how it's pulling that picture out, and the area of interaction that we're interested in is kind of standing out more. I can even make this a little bit bigger here because I've got that extra bit of room there now. And then over here as well, I can also probably make that a little bit bigger. I would look at the text as well, aimed at providing platform in. So let's get rid of some of this text because we probably don't need that whole first sentence. Remember, we want to try and keep it as simple as possible. So helping marginalized communities become productive and create sustainable livelihoods. To change lives for the better. Then we can actually make this logo a little bit bigger. And then for more information and donation, we don't need the HTTP. We can just have the www dot. And actually, you probably don't need the www dot anymore either. So we can put that in there. That's really starting to grab some attention now. And we could also think about potentially, putting something at the bottom, like you saw before that there was that idea of a transparent sort of barrier that kind of like drops everything back. So if you wanted to grab even more attention, you could possibly go and just grab a square. So to bring up the magic shortcuts, I've just hit the question mark. So you could drop that in there, make it a color that's black, and then go to transparency and drop that right back. So it's kind of standing out. Make sure it's behind the text. You can sort of see it's kind of just jumping in there, so the logo jumps out a little bit more. So that's probably where I would take that one. So let's just cover off what we've done. So we've pulled attention to the act of giving. We've used the orange square to really emphasize this, and then dropping the background back into grayscale so the audience can see the color come through in that act of service. Pumped up the logo a little bit. In this option, you can see that I've just actually put on a white background. That logo isn't quite working. To me, it feels like WTR and the C is getting lost a little bit. So let's jump in. So this is what it was. It's quite heavy font. And then we've got this really great graphic of people helping each other. And again, that idea of service is coming through again, which I really like. But I'm worried the C is getting lost, because I'm either reading it as WTR and not knowing that's a C, or I'm reading it as WTRC, but I'm also assuming that might be a letter as well. So it's getting slightly confused. So let's have a play with this. Okay, so I'll get rid of that. What have we got? We've got Mont Bold. So let's see if there's, we'll try something a little bit lighter. That seems to work. There. Okay, so that's feeling like it's kind of working a little bit better. Does feel a little bit like it, as much as I said it didn't feel like it said WTRC before, and now feels like it says WTRCC. So let's think about how we might be able to kind of change that a little bit. We talked about that idea of vehicles that kind of hold things before. So maybe there's like an opportunity to do that here. So if I just bring a circle in, send that to the back. It's kind of interesting. It feels like it's working within, and then maybe then I can have the name underneath. And so it has quite a nice kind of like base for the logo. It's not going to work with that color though. That color's horrible. And I don't think it's going to work with all that. So let's just see, let's see if I can, so it looks like that one, that's going to get lost. Okay, we've got, it's an actual image, so it's not actually something I can manipulate, but there's a trick here. Let me see if I can work out how to do this. If I pump the brightness up and then also pump the contrast up, you'll see we're getting a lot lighter. And then if I go into my filters again and go to grayscale, and then pump. Okay, we're getting pretty close to white there. So it's enough to kind of work out whether this is going to work or not. Bring it around. So that's feeling like it kind of works a little bit better. We've lost that great orange though, which seems a shame. So maybe we can just bring it in to kind of bring that out a little bit more. Maybe we could have that in the background of, so rather than the blue, we have that. So that feels to me like it's working a little bit better. We could even like, again, throw that in. It's again a really heavy font. So I think we used that one before, didn't we? And if we wanted to have it kind of this way instead of always just the monogram, just the letters, we could possibly do that. Okay. I think that kind of brings me to the end of my live design sessions.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I love that. So I want to say a huge thank you to you, Matt, for coming on for the show. And also a thank you to the students for letting us showcase their work. And if you do have any questions, now's a great time to pop it in the chat, whether it's about the designs Matt just made over or just about Canva generally. We're getting a lot of love in the chat, Matt. Carla said she loved how you made over the designs, truly amazing. Zen said that was awesome and loved how fast you did it.
I love to take credit for that, but that is really Canva. Canva's made it so easy. And, I think that idea of like when I first started, I wrote that really long and intense and detailed way to kind of like make curved text. And then like the engineers just do what they do. And then the next day it was a one button thing. And so much is happening in Canva, which is just making it easier and easier to kind of really focus on what the design is rather than like working the program.
We've just got a question asking whether there is a cheat sheet for great color combinations. So do you have any tips on how to pair up colors?
Yes, you can do masters in understanding color, but there's absolutely no need anymore because Canva's got one of the most amazing color resources. This is even before I was working at Canva, I used to use this all the time. Okay, so if you just go to this one, canva.com colors, it's this awesome little resource. You got color palette generator, color palette ideas, color wheel, color meanings. I used to teach color in university and it was always incredibly hard. And you always ended up like getting people to like paint, like get out the gouache and like paint a color wheel. And it hasn't, like it's got so much to do with design, but painting a color wheel doesn't really help. It doesn't teach you anything. So actually using this color wheel is really great because you can literally throw any color you want in here and it'll find the opposing color for you. So for example, if we want, what am I on custom at the moment? If we want monochrome, let's go for, this is a good one. So if I choose this color, you can see how it's adjusting the other colors as well. So then it's always kind of giving me the best outcomes. So that's a really great one. And, one of the hardest ones to always teach is triadic because it's 3 and it's often, it kind of doesn't make sense when you're kind of like explaining how, but it's just here now. And so you can kind of move stuff around and it's always finding the perfect color combination for you. If we go back, color palette generator, this is so amazing. You literally just upload an image that you're working with. So if you're working on a poster for a client and maybe they've got a photographer working for you and then the photographer gives you the image, you can literally upload the image and it'll find the perfect palette for you. So if we like, you can just hit the demo images. Oh, wow, that one's really nice. And it'll always find a great. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use it just as it is, but it hopefully gives you enough of an idea to kind of start. What else have we got? Color palette ideas. So just lots ones. You can see there's 99 pages of these to kind of get you started. And then this one is awesome as well. And this is really good. So basically what it does is like we choose out on the blue, green, it gives you all the different color combinations that might work with it, but it also gives you a bit of a history about it. And this is really effective when you're talking to a client and you're, basically trying to explain why this color is going to work. You can go here and get all the kind of great ideas to kind of put into your presentation. Did that answer?
Yes, that was great. Thank you, Matt. And I totally agree. It's such a great tool. Well, everyone, I think that wraps up our show for today. Thanks again, Matt, for sharing all your wonderful insights. I can see all the love in the chat, so everyone really appreciates it. And if you haven't already, make sure to join our Canva Design Circle Facebook group. I think we've got over 200,000 members now, so it's a great place to ask questions, hear about future feature rollouts, and get tips and tricks and feedback on your designs. Well, thank you very much for attending Design Makeover today. I hope you learned something and make sure to stay tuned for future episodes with our extremely talented design team here at Canva. Make sure to follow Canva on all our social channels for everything you need to know about design. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.